Hi guys, my name is Commerce with MAK. I have uploaded from chapter number 1 to chapter number 8 completely in my channel on business studies, entire division of your A levels in very short videos. Please watch now and please don't forget to subscribe my channel. So this is day 3 revision utopia. We're gonna learn 3 chapters: communication. Then we have the chapter number 10 transport and chapter number 11 trade. So let's start communication now. So you might see what is communication. Communication is about taking a message from one place to another point of area. That's how communication works. So when communication takes place, there's a big procedure. It doesn't happen that in one particular way. It has a proper method to happen. Every communication has a pattern to take place from one area to another area. When it reaches, it has a way of moving that message towards another particular point. So let's see how communication works. Actually, communication can be defined as sending and receiving information, understanding and sharing information from one party to another or many parties. Communication is important for business activities as well as social activities, because if you can't take a message from one place to another, then of course most of the time you might lose a lot of things. Years back, 200 years back, 300 years back, if you go centuries years back, the communication was not that easy. If you wanted to send a message from one country to another country, it takes days. It takes sometimes years to travel and give a message. Sometimes the person who has been sent might even die on the way. So they should be very careful when they're sending communication. The other pigeons were used to communicate between areas. Then it started to move towards some sort of way, and due to technology, the letters came. After letters, today people are using, due to technology, messages, and now still it's easy. It's all WhatsApp. You can send your emotions through your communication pattern of WhatsApp. So let's start. Communication is important for business activities as well as social activities. The importance of communication for business activities are given below: to exchange ideas between parties at a business, to maintain employer-employee relationship, to manage human and physical resources well, for marketing promotion activities. So communication is important to get the idea between people and to have mutual understanding. Communication should always be there. Without saying what the employee needs and what the employee wants, then of course they can't come to an agreement properly. So disclosing is very important in an organization. So this disclosement is properly done with the communication pattern. Then we move on to the next part of the content. It says that the importance of communication for social activities: to exchange ideas and messages socially, to know instantly about the incidents that happen internationally, to get information needed for educational activities, to know about inventions that come with the technological improvement, and also to build up social relationship nationally and internationally. So that's it when it comes to communication. Here they exchange ideas and messages within the society. They always need to know what is happening around the market, around the global market, and also they get a good information because of the communication pattern. The education has become very easy. People can learn everything in an easy manner, and also to know the improvements and invention which is happening around the market also will be learned by this type of communication activity, to build up social relationship. So because of this communication, you can even communicate within the country or else outside the country. So in a communication, there's a process. This is how a process works. This chart has been listed many times in your exams. Very much tested chart, I might say. So it's very important to know. This is elements of a communication process. So you might see sender, message, media, receiver, response, feedback. So I'm going to explain how this process works. Actually, sender is the person. This is the party sending the message. If it is verbal, the sender is a speaker or lecturer. If it is written form, then it is a person who signs it or the constitution. So they're saying that normally sender is the person actually sends the message from one particular area towards the receiver's point. So when this happens, then is the person who's creating the message actually. And once the message has been driven towards, you need to have a media. Now you must see what's message, the information that the sender provides to the receiver. So that's the actual information. If the information has not been taken place, has not been carried through the media in a proper manner, the entire thing what the receiver receives will be misled. How can information be provided? This is the communication mode used to provide information. Examples: verbal medium and written medium. So you might see in media, there are a few more things which you need to consider. It is the way which is used to send the message. Actually, in today's world, we use smartphones to exchange information. So smartphones becomes the media. It's the way the messages actually go through. Earlier they had letters, then they moved into telephones. Now they are on smartphones. Then we move on next part of the content. Receiver. So when it comes to receiver, this is the person who grasps the message. He can be a reader, listener, or viewer. So here, he can list. The receiver is the person who actually receiving the message. So he can be anyone in an organization. He can. He is the person who actually wanted to get the message, and if he is the right person, if he receives the message, he becomes the receiver. Once receiver gets the message, receiver will respond in a particular manner. That responding pattern is known as response, the way the receiver acts on what he heard or read. And finally, once receiver respond, he gives a feedback. He also communicates a message towards the sender. That message communication is known as the feedback. This is the response from the receiver to the sender of the message, ensuring that he received and understood the message. So we discussed how the process in a message, in a process in a communication actually works with the elements in exams. I don't know why the examiner loves this chart a lot. It has been tested more of the time in exams. Most of the time, this chart has been tested every particular year. They always ask these elements and the message and the way it works. So you need to know this type of definitions. Very carefully, you need to learn this. Then this will make you to score better in your exam. So to make effective communication, most of the areas in business studies, actually you don't want to buy hard. If you really practice, and if you can just remember these points, it's more than enough for you to score on your exam. So let's move on to the next part of the content. It says that characteristics of an effective communication. To make a message, to make a communication clear, what are the things should be represented? Number one, it says that it should be a clear message. It should not speak about bullshit. It should speak the correct message which you really wanted to take. Some people used to say when they are sending a message, there's like that and like this, and then if it is like that and like this, they don't go directly. So it takes the receiver to take a lot of time to understand. Reliability, how true it is. Some people say gossips to people through call or through face to face. They used to speak a lot of gossips, and if that information is not reliable, never focus on that. Two-way channel, one person should be able to give the message to another person. So there should be two people actually on this pattern. If there's one person and just communicating, then of course it's wrong way of communication. Speed of transmission, how fast the message can reach the customer, not the customer, the receiver is also being a part of the effective communication. Speed, proper medium, what is the actual media which is used to transfer the communication. It can be a phone, it can be verbal, it can be written, some sort of ways they might use mutual understanding. The receiver and the sender has a mutual understanding. Sometimes they might have conflicts, but again the message should be sent in a proper manner, which should be reliable, clear, two-way channel, speed of transmission, and throw proper media. Open mind, you can speak what you really wanted to and take the message towards the correct party. Effective feedback, you can wait until the correct feedback comes towards you, then you can take a decision. So this again has been listed on the exams. I must say it's a very star point, characteristics that should be in an effective communication. Then we move on to the next part of the content. The following points must be taken into consideration when preparing a message. There are a few things when you are preparing a message. When you write a message from your phone, these are a few things you need to consider when you are writing this message. The nature of the message, how important is that? Is it funny? Is it humor? Is it important, or is it some sort of very important, very deadline serious or deadly serious, something like that? We can say. So the nature of message speaks about how the message, what is the weight of the message? Completeness, how complete you are sending the message. Some people say, ASAP call me. So ASAP means as soon as possible call me. So it might be something very urgent. So people will call you. Some people will send a big message saying that, this have been gone, but you are still my friend. So they might send quotes to you as very complete to show their, way of communicate. Some people even put their feelings on the Facebooks so people can react to those feelings. That's also part of communication. Correctness, how correct is the information? Politeness, in what possible way they are actually saying that, in what possible way you can accept it actually. the ability of being understood by the receiver. So will the receiver be understand this particular message or not? Like some people will speak in complex terms. So if these complex terms cannot be understood, then of course the message becomes a message becomes a part where it becomes no use for people. Certainty, how certain the message will reach the customer, and will that message give the correct message towards the person. Then we move on to the next part. In communication, there are a few ways you can communicate: oral, written media, signs and symbols. So what is oral communication? Communicating in verbal method, then we say as oral. Written media means you are writing and communicating. And signs and symbols, you put certain signs and symbols and you communicate. So certain signs and symbols means like when you cross the road, you might see a certain sign. That's also sign and symbol media. So I'm going to explain you that in a while. Then let's start how internal communication and external communication work in a organization. So let's start. Internal communication is the exchange of information among the different parties within a business organization. Internal communication, exchange of various information among managers to owners, they might communicate. Among employees to employees, they might communicate. Among departments to department, they might communicate. But remember, this type of communication is within the organization. But when it comes to external communication, it is outside the organization. So they are saying that external communication means the exchange of information by the business organization with external organization and external parties. In external communication, exchange of information will take outside the organization. So you might see most of the time the organization decisions are organization communications are done with the customers outside the company, and also among business organization, other business organization and suppliers take place. So you can whoever outside the organization when you communicate like media, government, suppliers, customers, all these things comes under communicating outside the organization. So then they have given some examples. Given below are some examples of way that communication is done through various communication media. So this chart is a bit important. How it happens, this can be tested on your underlining area on your MCQs. Most probably you will get on 11th or 10th or 9th MCQ on your A-level MCQ paper, or in OTQs you might be tested within the areas of 30th to 50th. The OTQs doesn't have order in business studies. They give a mix, but most of the time they might give at least one MCQ or OTQ at this area. So in verbal, there are two ways, in internal as well as external. In also when it comes to this type of pattern, you might see they have electronic and non-electronic and electronic, non-electronic, electronic. Yeah. So you might see guys, give me a second. You might see in internal electronic is intercom. What's intercom? Within the organization, you use a media to communicate. That interface media which you are using within the organization to communicate through the internet is said as intercom. Non-electronic inside the organization. Yeah. Give me a second, guys. Is like when you get into the company, there might be a place where there'll be in the door, there might be a small, what to say, a machine which you can speak to the machine, and once you speak to the machine, the door will open. You can say the number 1134, something. When you say that, because your voice has been heard by the machine, it will respond, open the door. Or you can say like, please open the door, please close the door, something like that. When you say, it will respond to it. So when you verbally communicate with the communication, it's not the internet within the organization. When you use internet within the organization, it becomes intranet. Not so I can't take it under verbal. So electronic is intercom. So you communicate through your main what to say, verbal. Then when the machine hears it, it will respond to you in a particular manner. So non-electronic, when you speak verbal, you can speak face to face. You can speak interviews. When you have interviews, you speak face to face. Then conferences, where one person speak to the set of people. Internal meetings within the company, they might have certain meetings. What is external? In electronic, you might say external telephone, mobile phones, loudspeakers, voicemail. But non-electronic, drum, public meetings. So it's not actually electronic. That's why we say non-electronic. So they used to communicate with the drum. It can be used years back, but nowadays they don't use drum guys in organizations to take you towards one particular point and speak about the matter what they really wanted to. Written internal, they have electronic notice board, email, and email is also electronic. That's the reason email says that electronic mail. So they send an email to employees in written way. An electronic notice board, a notice board which is representing the actual message what they should represent for that particular day. And it says that non-electronic memos, notices, notice boards and reports. So when you have written and it makes inside the organization, but non-electronic, it becomes the memos, notices, notice boards and reports. Now these things are very easy to understand, guys. What you need to know is just a bit thing: is it internal or external? If it is external, what is internal? If you take external electronic fax, email again comes external. Electronic notice boards and SMS can be external. Today even social medias are used, but it's coming on the internet. And letters, newspapers, magazines, banners, posters, gazettes, which is issued by government, is a part of external non-electronic waste. These are paper hardcover copies. Then we have signs and symbols, internal electronic bill, internal warning signals. So when you go inside the company, you might have a bill. Like that bill will, you have a ring to ring. Then of course you will be hitting that, so people will be aware that you are inside the organization. Non-electronic, again you can hit a bill. Inside Pizza Hut, you would have seen that it's not Pizza Hut is using to for customers, but it's also used for internal. We can say internal and external, because the moment the customer is happy, he will ring the bill. And if when they are closing the place, also they can ring the bell if they want. If they want to communicate something, they can still ring the bell. So road signs, map depicting location of the organization, directional footprint. So these are the ways they are representing the signs and symbol inside the organization. At which place to go this side, turn this side. They might even put arrows in the company. When you go inside, it's a big company. They might say exit is here. Entering this place. So this type of marks will make you sure that you are going on the correct route way. Then when it comes to external part, you have electronic warning sirens, color lights, ambulance sirens. Sirens means the sounds you might listen. That's what is a siren. So actually, this type of signs which will make you example like warning sirens, like red color light which is blinking and blinking and waiting. Then you know that there's something wrong. Then non-electronic speaks about tracking symbols, railway and road signals, signs used for distance of sports umpires, body movements of traffic officers. So when a person moves when it comes to a police officer, when he moves his hand like this, it means that please come forward and please go. They can say through the sign language. You should be able to represent how sign language works. So sign language is not only coming under sign understanding, it is also part of visual understanding for people, because you are seeing through your eyes and you react for that. Then we have the next part. Electronic communication means what? Communication that has been generated with development of information and communication technology is known as electronic communication. Few modern electronic communication methods can be explained as follows. So we're going to look what are the electronic methods are available for an organization to take ahead. You have internet, a computer network that covers a wide range of computer network that is available internationally. It can be described as a network, or a network says the information that is entered from various places can be obtained through a personal computer. So you can sit in one particular place and you can get all the information on the globe is a part of the internet. So you know how internet works. So I don't want to go a bit deep into this. Very easy area to understand. Email, exchange of messages through internet from a computer to another computer is known as email. To send a message that is prepared electronically, the sender and the receiver both should have internet facilities and email addresses. So they're saying that when you are communicating today, even email, you can send it through phone. It's not a must that you need to have a computer. So, but you need to have one particular thing to send the email. You need to have internet. So internet is very common among people. So I hope email is very easy way of transacting. And email is good for keeping it very confidential. No one can delete the information. Most of the time it is going to be stored, and it is today accepted in court as a valid message. And today, even if you guys send a message in phone, in court, if you guys, for example, if you guys are killing a person, if you guys have planned to kill a person, and the killer calls you, send a message, shall I kill him? You said, H double N. It's still a message that you are accepting to kill that person. Even a guy was arrested years back because he said, H double N, to kill that particular person because it was his plan. Then when court took all his orders, there was no proper methods. He has communicated in a proper way through phone. Finally, he got a message. In that message, he has said, So because of whom, he was captured by the police. So you should be very careful when you guys are sending messages, guys. Internet, an institutional network based on internet which has been facilitated to reach the data within the institute. This is a network that is under the control of a person or institute and the services provided. So this within the organization most of the time when you communicate through online, through the organization, when you sit in your space, you have a system to work. In that system, you can chat with your friends in your company. So when you can chat with them, then of course it becomes the internet. So not only your friends, when you are communicating between the managers, also you can use the internet system. So moving on to voicemail, this is a system where the message given by the sender verbally over the phone is reflected through a network and is stored or recorded in a disk to retrieve later. So it's when you call a person from one end to another end, the guy who is receiving the call from the other end will not receive the actual message, will not be there to pick up your call. So at that point of time, voicemail is important. You can put a voicemail. So after when they have time, they will receive the voicemail and they will listen to that. Fax is something which you send, you might see, and electronic machines that enable to transmit letters and documents with pictures instantly through an ordinary telephone system is known as fax machine. In a fax method, the fax machine that sends the message gets the print of the relevant documents through digital technology and transmit it to a fax machine when received. When a person used to send some sort of information, very important information from one country to another country, they might use fax, and when they send fax, they need the other guy who's on the other country should be able to accept fax. It's not only in country, even it can be done domestically, but most of the fax is famous for country to country. They must send this information transmitting through these fax machines. And when he accepts that, the picture which they have sent it encoded will be represented here. I don't know how it works actually, but it's mode of through the signals. It is the page, the message has been reached. So then we move on to the next part. To people today use mobile phones as a good communication pattern. One of the biggest way of communication is today mobile phone. As a result of the development of communication technology at present, mobile phones are used to do various business activities through satellite technology. Intercom, a telephone network installed privately to exchange within the organization through the telephone network. So I need to give this separately. So a telephone network installed privately to exchange information within the organization through the telephone network. So no one can actually, as I said, it's a network where when you go and speak to that machine, it will start to respond to you for your need. That is the way. Maybe when you sign into the organization, you might say, "This is Aslam. I'm signing in," so it will take my voice and notice and it will record it. If my voice is a bit different, it will not listen to what I really say. That's the problem of intercom. So then we have the actual problems of a good communication, poor knowledge about the use of modern technical methods. If people doesn't know how to use an email, if people doesn't know how to use an Outlook, if people doesn't know how to communicate through a smartphone, problem will always start. External barriers occur in the use of communication equipment. If you don't have the enough resources to communicate, then of course problem can take place. Use of outdated communication system. When you send a letter, when you can call and speak, for example, if there's a supplier, I want to buy some goods, so rather than calling and speaking, I'm sending a letter, then of course it's a very outdated communication system. It takes a lot of time. Barriers that occur in the process of communication means, so when you are communicating, there might be problems like the noise signals you might listen. The external sound also can become a problem sometimes when you communicate through call. Some people will put a high volume of sound and they'll start watching songs. So then of course you will get disturbed. Weakness that existing in the communication plans. So what might be the weakness? Sometimes the internet can go down inside the organization. Sometimes when you reach the customers will not answer your call. Can also happen in a effective communication. It also says that language problem, knowledge, and attitude. When you communicate some message to another party, the guy who's receiving the message might not be the guy who's receiving the message might be not as you expected. The person will be speaking in a different language which you do not know. Then of course there will be a problem in communication actually. Then they're saying the next part, barriers that occur in the external environment. Certain things you can't control, and that which you can't control becomes a barrier actually when it comes to external environment. Something which you can't control can say about anything. When you are communicating, if there's a strike on the road, then of course your communication will become spoiled. When you're speaking with the customer, all of the earthquake comes, again communication can be spoiled. So that's something which you can take uncertain. We don't know what would happen, but if it happens, it will become a problem. Then we move on strategies to overcome the barriers of communication. How come you come out of these problems when you are communicating? Number one, use a modern communication equipment, use good technological items, imposing rules and regulations regarding communication, the way how you need to respond. For example, if a customer sends an email, the guy who's in the company should ensure to reply it back in a proper manner. That's one of the important thing of the company. Setting up communication towers. So when you have proper towers, then of course it's easy to call and speak. Certain networks should work on that. Then we have use of digital technology rather than using the outdated one. You should always use digital. Completion of new rules and regulation on the misuse of communication methods. So if you have not followed the certain rules and regulations, you can follow by following the new rules and regulations. So let's move on to the next part of the content: advantages and disadvantages of oral communication. I'm going to read it. If you guys, if it is a bit upset, it's very hard to understand. I'll explain these things. Advantage of oral communication. It's very time saving, quick feedback, application in special areas, powerful means of persuasion and control. Like when you speak, you can speak through emotion, so you can control people. Like for example, if the person is to be punished, you can say, if you don't come to work on time, I'll put you out. So the way you are presenting can be a threatening voice, means then of course it's persuasion and control. Saving money, effective for all because you don't spend anything. It's just an easy way of transaction, more reliable, flexibility, complete understanding. But what is the problem? Your emotions will be shown if you can, like when you are communicating, sometimes you might cry and you might show what you are actually feeling. No legal validity. People can misuse whatever you have said. This happens most of the time when you are doing business with your partners. They might lie to others when they really wanted your profit. Absence of permanent record. No one knows what you have communicated. So the one person will be saying, say that he is true. Other person will be saying he is true. So there will be problem of confusion. Who is actually saying the truth? Problem for distance people when a person is so far, it's very hard to communicate and unsearchable for lengthy messages. You can't communicate lengthy messages. When you are nearby, you will always speak what you really feel. Confused speech a greater chance of misunderstanding. When you say something, the way you say emotion. For example, uh, like I myself and brother had a problem. Now my mother wanted to solve it out. No, I have two brothers. For example, I had a problem with my elder brother. Now the younger brother comes and says that my elder brother is saying for younger brother, if he comes to my home, I will not take him in a normal, polite manner. But the way my younger brother comes and says to me, don't go to your brother's home. You know why? He said that he will never take you to home. You see, the way they saying that is a misleading thing. He just said no, like if you don't come, if he comes, I won't take him. So that's the way he informed. But the way he never said not to take home, never. So this type of changing the alterations is a great problem in oral communication. Then we move on next part of the content: distortion of meaning. Meanings can be changed as I use now. Uneasiness to fix responsibility. You might not know who said it, so finding out is very hard. Risk of leak of secret information. You believe some people and you communicate that some information to some people, but these people will go and that's like this happened. So they'll communicate all your messages to someone. So that's one of the worst way of communication. Then we have the advantages and disadvantages of written communication. If it is written, it's very good. All the information should be most of the time written. Very valid, legally accepted, provides detailed information, easy to produce anytime, saves time, money, and energy. Perfect, permanent record, scope to make changes. If you want, you can alter changes. Disadvantage: slow and time consuming. It takes a lot of time to type it. Difficulty to change. Once you are sent, it's actually what you are sent. Delayed feedback, so it takes a lot of time for the person to respond to you. Only for little people, only educated people will use emails and written records of letters and everything. Wastage of time. Some people think that written records, these proofs are taking a lot of time and it's a wastage. So then we have, I'm sorry, guys. The ability, advantages and disadvantages of signs and symbols. The ability to present information briefly and clearly through signs. Accuracy of information being at a high level. When you can see it, you can understand it better than when someone says it or in reading in written form. The ability to understand information easily. What's the disadvantages? There will be problems in exchanging information where the recipient suffers from sight impairment. If we can't see actually what is happening there, if we can't see what's the zebra crossing, if we can't actually see what's happening on the environment, the zebra crossing, then of course he can hit someone on the road, so that will be another problem. If signs and symbols get distorted over time, miscommunication can occur. If that distorted mean it is means that of course miscommunication can happen. It can be difficult to understand some signs and symbols because you might not know what they are actually saying. The need of knowledge on signs and symbols before they are understood. So before you understand that, then you need to know a good thorough understanding. So again, I have given visual communication, the same signs and symbol. It's not that important to go ahead with this thing because we already learned it. That is chapter number 8, 9, communication, which we have discussed now. We'll take a 10 minutes break and we'll start at 9 o'clock today. We'll be starting chapter number 10. Chapter number 10 has three contents. We will speak about, today we will speak about transport, then we will speak about logistic, then warehouse, how it happens. It's a very interesting chapter, guys. So we'll start at 9 o'clock. Take a break and we'll start at 9. Start chapter number 10.